In your press conference that you had Thursday afternoon, you announced that you were going to be extending the stay home orders through May 8th. I know there are going to be a lot of people that were very disappointed in that. What would you like to say to them?
Well, we have to do things with care and not haste, and we have to make decisions based on science, data, and facts. And that's what we've done here. We've set up some objective criteria that we need to meet in order to get our economy moving in phases. I know that people are hurting. I know that people are anxious to get back to normal, but we have a very contagious virus that's causing a global pandemic, and health experts and even the White House guidelines would tell North Carolina that it is too soon to begin easing restrictions. But we have a plan in place that's going to be very methodical. We need to use care, not haste, and we plan to begin turning the light on with a dimmer switch and not just with an on-off, because
Right.
It would be catastrophic for the health of North Carolinians if we just took all of the restrictions away. I'm proud of the people of North Carolina for having to flatten this curve, and I think we're going to make this work.
I'm curious, why did you choose May 8th? That's a week out from your original April 31st deadline. Why May 8th? Why not May 15th or some other date?
Well, today's the 23rd. We were looking at trying to examine about a 14-day trajectory. Remember all of the indicators that Dr. Cohen was talking about earlier, the positive tests, the percentage of positive tests, the hospitalizations. We want to look at 14-day trends. And from now until May 8th is about a 2-week period. What we're hoping is that we will see positive indications on the trends data, trends testing and tracing, and to be able to go into the next phase then. But if we don't see those objectively, then we'll have to wait a little bit longer.
Do you have to hit all of them? Is there one of them that's any more important than another one? Or put it another way, is there one of them that's a deal breaker?
The health experts want to look at it in a combination, because there are some shortcomings on each objective measurements that they won't have enough information. But if you look at it in a combination, and if we are steadying or declining in these areas, then we know that we're ready for the next phase. And I'm going to rely on the health experts who are looking at this data to make sure that we're making the right kinds of decisions. But I think we've picked the right kinds of things. It encourages us to increase our testing, and we hope that the percentage of positive tests continue to go down. We need to keep an eye on our hospitalizations, because that's what we're trying to prevent with these restrictions, is prevent our medical system from being overwhelmed. So keeping an eye on that. And the pre-COVID symptoms, that's already declining. We're in good shape with that, and we hope it continues that way. But I think this is a good setup. It incorporates a lot of what the White House recommended that we look at to make decisions on easing restrictions in North Carolina. This is something that will be public data that people can look at. North Carolinians can see how they're doing. And we can all work together to try and flatten this curve and get us where we need to get on all of these indicators, and begin doing things to ease restrictions and moving our economy forward, because I know a lot of people are hurting out there. I know that people are very anxious. I know that parents are tired of having their kids at home all the time and want them to get back to school. All those things people are feeling right now, and there's a great degree of frustration.
And it's understandable.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Our team understands. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, this is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this.
I think that's
so we're having to deal with new
a point
things.
that we need to underscore. We've never in our lifetime seen anything like that. I've been watching the press conferences that Governor Cuomo and others have been doing across the United States, and I got to commend y'all for really coming out and giving factual information, data-driven information. And there was some good news in this. I think there was the number of tests that are going up, the trend lines showing that they are leveling or sustained anyway. There's some good news out of this.
We've got some of the strongest capability for testing in the country. We're still not where we need to be, and I explained a little bit of that process and how it worked from the hiccups at the CDC early on in the process, which delayed the kind of testing that we can do. But we're beginning to ramp up, and the more tests we can do, the more information that we have. It tells us where we are, and I look forward to continuing to gather this data so that we can use it to make good decisions going forward. One thing about our system is that we're not very centrally focused. We have a lot of independent hospitals that do their own thing, and I'll commend them. They've had to do something different. They're now having to report everything here to the Emergency Operations Center, and that's been a struggle for everybody. Not used to doing that, but I think they've realized that as we are providing help to them, that it's important for us to have the data and the information so that we can make good decisions. We have a lot of requests across the state for personal protective equipment, and we don't have enough of it yet. We're doing everything we can to try and get it, and we're making significant progress there. But if we know where we are, then we can know where we need to be. And that's exactly right.
The Roy Cooper I know sort of has in the back of his mind a timeline a little bit. Tell us a little bit what you think is an optimal situation to move into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Are we talking about 3 months in your opinion, 6 months, what?
Well, the very optimal situation is as we laid out. If we can go into phase 1 in May 9th, then what you would have is a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks to see if the indicators are going the way we want, and if they are, we can go into phase 3 after 4 to 6 weeks of looking at the indicators in phase 2. So if all of that happens, then that's positive, and this is not going to be an arbitrary decision. It's going to be based on objective criteria that everybody can see and everybody knows, and we can get a lot of opinions from people. And this is an evolving situation. There may be things that come up, or we need to adjust the formula, or we may need to make some changes in the phases as we get input from people. But we realize we are in uncharted waters. And so the decisions we're making, we're working to make them as objective as possible. And you do that using the science and the data, and you try not to use the emotion of it all,
speaking of data,
there is a lot of frustration.
Let me transition to you. You've spoken in some of your press conferences about the supply chain. And the few occasions that I've had to go into the grocery store, the shelves are still, there's nothing. There's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. There are no wipes. How long is it going to take for the supply chain to catch up? And is there something you as governor need to do to get involved in that?
Well, there are certain items that there are shortages of sometime, but as a general rule, the supply chain on the grocery stores is working. I've pulled all the grocery store chains together. I've had them on the phone. I truly admire the people who are working so hard in our supply chain, particularly for food and necessary items at grocery stores, starting with our farmers and the people who work in the fields and the people who do the processing and the people who drive the trucks and the people who work in the grocery stores. They're all on the front line. And we're doing everything we can to help maintain the supply, helping them with their problems with their employees and making sure their employees are safe. I've waived a number of rules and regulations to allow them to do more and to get things quicker. So, I think overall, particularly with the high demand out there of everybody being home and everybody being a little bit frightened, I think part of it is that some people are still hoarding, And we would ask people not to do that. Just buy what you need, because the supply chain is in pretty good shape. I think maybe most of the problems are happening at the consumer level, where people just want to go in and buy everything they see in case something happens. And what we want people to know is that the supply chain is in good shape, and just take what you need, and remember that there are others who need to come behind you and get some things that they need to.
I got plenty of other questions, but Dory McMillan is pulling on my chain saying he's got to get out of here.
Yes.
Final question. Is there something final, last word, you'd like to have with the people of North Carolina?
I continue to see positive stories out there. I see grandkids waving at their grandparents through the window at a nursing home and having drawn pictures for them. I see people who are teleworking from home who have sent out a Facebook post to their friends to say, hey, any healthcare worker that needs child care, I'm going to be at home, I'll take care of your child. I see a neighbor who keeps going shopping for a senior in our at-risk population and brings the groceries every week. That's the North Carolina that I know, and it's what's going to get us through this. We're going to depend on each other. We're going to deal with this thing that we don't know much about, but North Carolinians are resilient, and we're going to come out on the other end even better than we were before.